we're not normally the kind of people who put disclaimers at the front of our episodes. I mean, as far as we're concerned, this is your fault. But this is a special case. I mean, this one is a little bit more fucked up than usual. This has a lot of disturbing content. And yes, we're going to make lots and lots of jokes about having sex with a baby. So, join myself, Paul, Charlie, Chris, and Kyle as we discuss a Serbian film.
Who the hell writes things like this? Who's this guy? Why is he here? So we're just cutting to here now. Why not? They couldn't even write the animals well. How does that make any sense? How can he be there now? Like this? No, just take her up. What's this guy? People act. Fuck me. What did I just watch?
Yeah, so I got an idea. Let's fucking record this one.
I like.
Yeah, I'm just throwing some ideas out there.
All right, look, I got the recording thing. It said it's recording. I know we fucked up. Well,
is it recording right now?
Yes, it is recording
now
right now.
Now we're going to talk about PT being diddled all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, this is the episode, right? So I'll fill everyone in on what happened and why Martin's trying to guilt trip me for being late to a second recording. We had a rehearsal recording yesterday because Martin forgot to hit record the podcast.
No, it was not that simple. It was all about updating the fucking thing to record.
Which is the most fundamental thing you can do when you host a podcast is record the fucking thing.
Fucking glitches happen all the time. I'm surprised we haven't had one since, 2013. Hey, you know what it did make me do? I had to come up with all new material. Well, not all new material. There's still going to be a lot of my fucking rants, and I kept all the quotes. But most of the reviews have changed.
Do you write this shit down?
Yeah, I have printouts.
Oh,
I have it logged.
See, it's one of the burdens of being a host. If you're a guest, you can just wing it and coast along.
Let's recreate what we had yesterday. So, Kyle,
it always happens when I'm doing a podcast, weirdly enough.
Kyle, if you can stick the microphone up your ass for the first 30 minutes and just try to talk.
Okay, fuck you guys. If this whole podcast wasn't recorded, you're going to get on my ass for the microphone not working.
But it turns out that it really did record. He just wanted to wind Kyle up more.
Actually, it turned out none of our microphones were working. So,
I mean, jeez.
Oh, look at that. I found the recording from yesterday.
Mine wasn't, or it was. But...
Okay, so we got to talk about this movie again.
All right.
Let's try to keep the energy up because I know we're gonna tread new ground or tread old ground.
Yeah. Well, you guys remember what we went over yesterday in rehearsal, right? Just do that again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's some things we didn't cover. I mean,
actually, there's quite a bit we didn't cover. But you know what? Why don't we could cover it now?
I'm done. All right, I'm done. I'm done breaking Martin's balls. We can.
Yeah. See, I think this is the type of movie that should only be talked about once.
And unfortunately, we have to talk about it
again, like some horrible, dark secret.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is possibly the meanest thing you could do is make us talk about this movie again.
No, the meanest thing I could do is make you watch it again.
It really doesn't deserve that much attention.
That's true.
Oh shit, we weren't supposed to?
And another thing that we need to talk about too is the fact that PT is not here
again.
Yeah. So he wasn't here yesterday either, but he's also not here again, and there's a reason for that. And he may or may not have been diddled. We're not sure. So
he was not diddled as a kid, Charlie. I was there. He was not diddled.
Martin may or may not have diddled PT. We don't know.
These fingers are clean, Charlie.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to like a summer camp or anything?
Yeah.
Come back harrowed.
I mean, once, but that's a completely different situation.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, no one's saying that you diddled PT. We're just saying that you probably did, and that's why PT's not here, because it affected him so much.
Oh, God. That is something that I do want to address, because he'd probably get very mad if he just thinks that everyone was diddling him. Paul does not like violence towards children. He doesn't like overly exploiting children. It deeply affects him, and while he did see the movie, he didn't want to go through this again. I mean, we were talking about it at work, which at that point I was like, dude, we're talking about it right now. Why don't you just get on the show and we'll, do it again? He's like, fuck, no. In fact, we had to keep shutting down and starting up the conversation several times in order to, get through, a few thoughts. this movie just really freaked him out, and he hated it. And he didn't want to have to relive it by talking about it.
So, in other words, PT's normal.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
You say he's against violence for children, but are there many people who are actively pro violence for children, aside from the maker of this film?
He was like, I fucking loved all the violence towards children in this movie, especially when they were getting fucked. Anyway, go on. Kyle.
Which I wish was a joke, but that is actually what makes this movie so notorious, is that, yes, there is a scene of a newborn getting fucked, like straight out from vagina to penis.
Which, as a callback to an old podcast, the last podcast we just did, that scene where she's giving
film again.
Yeah, she's giving birth to the newborn, so it's called newborn porn. She's giving birth to it. It reminded me of the Bay of Blood octopus scene.
Why?
Charlie, how? One's a baby and one's an octopus.
Yeah, but they're both kind of like slimy and gross, and then, the octopus gets fucked by getting thrown in the fucking lake, where it's probably like a saltwater creature, right?
No, Charlie, that's a metaphorical fucking. This is a literal one.
Yeah, and then the baby just gets fucked.
I don't know what point you were trying to make.
I mean, they both probably died.
In the version you guys watched, so did they actually show the baby getting fucked? Because fortunately, my one didn't.
No, they didn't actually. They didn't film the actual penetration, unlike certain scenes. But you do see like newborn coming out, and I don't even really want to describe it. And I'm feeling like how Paul felt now, because like, yeah, you know what, that is kind of fucked up when I have to describe it.
Maybe that's why I walked away from it kind of unfazed, was because my one maybe didn't show as much. Because the one I saw, you just see like the mother's reaction and the man's face. You never really.
All right, never mind. I do have to describe this because this is gonna bug me if I don't. Okay, so newborn out of vagina gets put in front of the guy. The guy's back is at the camera. Lowers down underwear. You can see him put baby on what we know is there, and then it does kind of cut away, pan away, and you hear the baby screams.
Yeah, you could sort of hear the baby screams, but other than that, you can.
Wow, I came back and this is the thing.
What else are we supposed to talk about in a Serbian film?
Yeah,
Can't miss this out.
But but it was like a close up of the woman giving birth too, which was disgusting.
Welcome to the miracle of life, Charlie.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys would probably think that with, well, this scene in particular and many others like it, this movie would be hated. I mean, Paul couldn't stand it. It's weird. The scenes that are fucked up, I kind of wish weren't there. But as a whole, I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah.
I did. It was not because of its content, but just because it was so boring for the first half. There just wasn't enough to keep me vested at all.
Like Charlie, except for the fucked upness, did you think it was a good movie?
No. I mean, honestly, I hated the movie. I will never watch it again, ever in my life will I watch a Serbian film again. I will never recommend anyone watch a Serbian film. I hated the movie. Overall, it was like there was just parts of it that made me feel like physically ill. Like it was that bad. And I would not. I didn't like it at all. I mean, but the question is this movie art, or is it just playing up to, like the hostile crowd, like the gore hounds that just want to see some really fucked up shit? And that's the fine line that it walks. And I think it could be debated whether it's art or whether it's just a gory shock value piece of shit. I don't know where I stand, but I think I'm leaning towards just gory shock hound piece of shit.
And we'll get into more of that later, because I have very strong opinions, but in a situation like this, with a movie like this, I'd prefer to go to the source. So rather than just give my interpretation of what I think the filmmakers thought, I actually have quotes from the director about most of the points that we're going to make. And I think it'll help us make better determinations about how the film is. Kyle, besides the fucked up shit, or maybe because of the fucked up shit, did you enjoy the movie?
I really had no reaction to any of it. I mean, like, I don't know. It's just, like, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, yeah, it was, like, fucked up, but I've seen fucked up shit, and it's just, like, so
Kyle,
what? That's my reaction.
All right. Do you guys think
Thankfully.
that like the audience at large liked this movie?
Well, judging by the YouTube likes and dislikes, no, they hated it. Although there were a few people in the comments who were like very enthusiastic
I
about
think
it.
I think it's gonna surely probably just one of those things that divided opinion. I reckon there's probably somewhere in the middle, because like there is that point that makes you question, like, oh, could there be more to it? And then before you realise, oh, actually no, there fucking isn't.
No, there really isn't.
All right. Well, from IMDb, you're pretty much right on the nose. This is a 5.3, smack dab in the middle. On Amazon, it has 3.6 out of 5 stars.
Jesus.
And the thing that really got to me was Rotten Tomatoes, 46% of critics and 44% of audiences liked this movie. Now that's higher than Bucky Larson, Born to be a Star, Paul Blart Mall Cop, and Jack and Jill, meaning that people are more willing to watch somebody fuck a baby than sit through a Happy Madison movie.
To be fair, I do think Jack and Jill was worse.
You would rather watch people fuck infants than go see Jack and Jill?
I chuckled at a Serbian film a few times.
There were a few funny parts in there.
Yeah.
Or the son's phallic-looking balloon that he waves in his face. I don't know if that was symbolic or...
I think this movie basically forewent any symbolism and just went right for the literal. What do you think this movie is trying to make you take away from it? Without living in Serbia, what do you think?
I think you're supposed to say, man, that shit was fucked up, and then never think about it again.
Do you think the director had a point?
No.
I think the director thinks he had a point.
Yes, yeah.
I believe that he thought he had a point. Which does make sense, because I was actually arguing with Paul, does this movie make a political statement? And I said, yes it does. Because I remember reading it somewhere. I wanted to back it up, because I don't want to just talk out my ass. So, oh boy, did I find that he really wanted it to make a political statement. But I also didn't realize how much of a hypocrite he was until I started reading interviews with him. Alright, take this for example. Quote, "This is a diary of our own molestation by the Serbian government. It's about the monolithic power of leaders who hypnotize you to do things you don't want to do. You have to feel the violence to know what it's about." End quote. So basically, the entire movie is an allegory for the Serbian government and what it does to its people. Now, how much of a totalitarian hellhole must Serbia be? I mean, obviously, if the people are the babies, or the women getting their heads cut off, or the guys getting their eyes fucked, then Serbia must be bad. But let's put this in context. This is also a quote from him. Quote, "In Serbia, we don't have ratings. There is no law forbidding anything from being shown in a film, and there is no law forbidding anyone from buying a ticket." End quote. I like to point out that is more freedom than Spain, Norway, Germany, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, and Singapore get, where this film is banned.
Jesus.
This is some motherfucker who basically went to daddy, said, "Can I borrow some money?" And, went, okay, yeah, sure. Took that money and then made a huge billboard saying that daddy's a big fucking asshole.
Well, that's part of the thing. Is like that's one of the reasons I feel like this doesn't really have any major point. Is because it seems everything I've read about him seems to suggest that he's just, he lived most of his life outside of Serbia and doesn't really have that much connection with the people. He's just using it as a way to make his film seem less crass and stupid.
Well, I mean, he was born in Serbia, and maybe he knows a little bit about that. So I dug into this guy's life. Kind of. I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So this guy, whose name I am going to attempt to pronounce, because his first name doesn't even have...
Rather you than me, man.
His first name doesn't even have vowels in it.
Hey, Z can be a vowel with the right inflection.
Sredan Speciojevic. Sredan Speciojevic.
Close enough.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that's right.
Sounds about right.
He directed a Serbian film, and he also directed the letter R from the movie The ABCs of Death. Everyone gets a letter, and his was removed. Like, not like they cut his shit out. They probably should have. but his letterment removed. And guess what he did after he did that? Well, if you guessed nothing, you're fucking right.
Yes.
My next guess was gonna be disappeared into obscurity.
I couldn't find anything about him. There's like no biographies.
Much like the director character in the movie, he has no past, and any movies directed have never been seen.
That is way too deep.
I
disagree with that idea. Like, the thing is, when the brother tells him that the director has, and I was going to bring this up last time as well. When the brother tells him that he doesn't know anything about the director and stuff, I think he's lying because he's in on it because he wants to fuck the main character's wife.
That sounds... Yeah, I could believe that.
Still too deep.
So I just found this. Maybe he's doing time in a Spain prison because apparently he was charged in Spain with exhibiting child pornography in relation to
Was
this
it
movie.
because of this movie? Oh.
No, I know what you're talking about. That was I think those charges were dropped because there was no actual child involved. That was during the showcase.
That
of
was
the
a
film.
midget. That wasn't a kid. That was a midget.
They don't have rights.
Yeah. So I couldn't find an honest biography of this guy. Like, there's nothing on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, or any of the normal places you find. So this is from an interview from BeyondHollywood.com, where he actually talks a little bit about himself. Quote, "Well, I studied movie directing. I started in 1997 or something like that, finished in 2001. After that, I was working on one script that we never shot. 5 years ago, we started with this one. I think we had a short synopsis around 5 years ago, and then after that, 1.5 years working on the script with the scriptwriter, we finished and started preparing." End quote. So basically, what we know is that he was born in Serbia, went to film school, started on this movie, made this movie, and fucking disappeared. And look, I'm not really that great with social media. I mean, I was when it came out, I was in college, like graduating. So I understand that sometimes people who are a little bit older, like him, he was like 34 when he made this movie. Maybe he just didn't catch on to it, but you would think that there would be something. And I mean, the motherfucker has a Facebook account. It has 4 entries, and I wish I could tell you what it said, but it's all in Serbian.
Well, maybe the Serbian government killed him. Maybe they just...
Hey, you stole my point.
maybe-
And you forgot to say that he was raped.
Oh. Oh yeah, you said that yesterday.
Yeah, maybe they killed him because maybe that's really what Serbia's like, and you like let out the secret, and then all of us are just like, wow, what a disgusting asshole that guy is. But maybe that's what Serbia's really like, you know? And they arrested and fucking killed him for it.
Oh my god,
That'd be nice.
he's a hero. He's a national hero.
Yeah, I mean, what if this guy's just a patriot, for Christ's sakes, you know, trying to save all these kids and shit, Serbia, and now he's dead.
Yeah, and we're making fun of him.
Yeah, no, I'm glad he's dead regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of patriotism is like trying to rile everyone up in America by singing the Star Spangled Banner backwards. It's like, you have a point, but you fucked up.
Yeah.
I just realised we're
Except
quite
us.
way into this recording. We've not even begun to touch on what the actual plot of this is.
Okay.
Guys, we'll take this secret with us to our graves.
All right, let's get that out of the way, because the beginning of the film, in the first half, like you said, which was very slow, is about this guy whose name I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, and he's a washed-up porn star, kind of. I mean, he's still, like, known in the business, but he doesn't really do much anymore. So, he gets this offer to be in this new artistic type of porn. And slowly, as he's going from shoot to shoot, he realizes that this isn't your normal porn. This is violent. This is harsh. This is dangerous. And so when he tries to get out, they drug him with the weirdest MacGuffin I think I've ever heard of.
It's like bull hormone or something.
It's like bull hormone, bull semen, something. They shoot him up with something.
It was
Some
a bull
bullshit.
aphrodisiac, I believe.
And evidently that's science is not this movie's forte. I'm pretty sure that would just get pissed
that
out.
turns him into a violent rapist, apparently.
I was gonna say, wouldn't a bull aphrodisiac just attract bulls?
Motherfucker, I went to the state fair, there was this guy, he just ran in and started banging cows.
Then he tried to run into me because I was waving this red flag.
So yeah, the second half is more chaotic. It's not the slow burn that the first half was, because he has no idea what's going on, but he's left these tapes. And as he's reviewing the tapes, it's slowly showing what he did and where he needs to go. And do you guys want to take it from there? Because that's the interesting part. The first part is basically just, oh, these porn scenes are getting a little bit too much. Then someone fucks a baby, and then take it away, guys.
Then he fucks the chick chained to a bed, then he decapitates her, and he continues fucking the corpse. And what happens after that?
Well, basically after that, there's a point where there's a somewhat uninteresting woman who gets killed off just to make up the numbers, I guess. And then then we get to the orgy scene.
Wait, no, there's one before that. His friend who actually got him into the industry, or with this guy, she has a change of heart because she sees what's going on.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant that's the throwaway person you were talking about?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think she was like the only important character who got killed in the second half. Yeah.
It's somewhat important, but I mean.
Yeah, we wouldn't know what was going on if we didn't have like random camcorder footage or missed exposition.
But she it seems like it kind of detracted from the intensity the film had at that point. Didn't really affect anything.
Well, remember, this is symbolism for the government, and what the government does is pull out your teeth, get an erection, shove it in your mouth, and choke you to death with it.
Yeah, that's
government!
true.
It's bad!
Happen.
So,
oh my god, so this film did have a message.
Yeah, a very, very shallow one.
Are you tired of the government murdering people with their penis? Well, I know I am.
It's not subtle at all.
Yeah, I think it was a subtle hint at Obama's politics.
In Serbia. Somehow they're involved in American politics in Serbia. They care about this.
Yeah, if there's one thing that can be said about this movie is that it's definitely pro-Trump.
Yeah, so then we get to the famous orgy scene, where the main character, Miloš, is having sex with an unknown figure, and then another figure comes alongside him and begins having sex with another person next to him, and the director pulls off the mask of the guy next to him, and it turns out to be his brother. Which is not much of a twist when you remember there's only about 4 characters left alive at this point in the movie.
Obviously it's his creepy brother, right?
Yeah, that and they made it super obvious.
Yeah.
And it turns out the creepy brother is having sex with the main character's wife, and main character is having sex with his own son.
Yep, and it's shown in excruciating detail. You don't see penetration.
No, they're covered by sheets.
But you do see at one point, in what I can only describe as a tastefully done piston shot, maybe? As he gets rougher and rougher, because bull semen does that to you, I guess, blood starts flying out, and it's obvious that something is going horribly wrong. Not that anything was going right up until this point, but you know that something is about to turn, and that's when you find it out, and just like Kyle said, it suddenly turns into like a fucking action movie. Like, guns start showing out of everywhere, and like fucking John Woo comes in and starts directing people and like flings doves everywhere. All right, that last.
Before we get to that, Kyle, do you want to complain about the fact they use prosthetic penises again, and you didn't get to see any of the real ones?
Yeah,
Or,
every upload shot of him and his penis is fake. A lot of fake dicks. There's a lot of fake dicks in there.
That's actually on the.
Want to complain about it.
That's actually on the movie poster. It says in quotes, "Not great, has fake dicks," and it says Kyle under it.
Look, if I had to have a scene where I'm holding my dick hostage, I'm not gonna put anything up to it.
It's so jarring. It's just jarring how fake it is. Like, the whole movie is just very brutal, very realistic fashion. Then he just whips out his dick, and it's clearly fake, and it becomes a parody at that point.
Ruined.
So forget everything else. That's the problem with the movie.
One problem.
It is definitely a problem with the film. I mean, for one, I don't even know if it was actually supposed to be a parody. If that's just the way it worked in my mind by that point. But it sort of kind of undermines the messages of the film, if there are supposed to be any, by turning it into a silly farce by the end.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think the message is? Because it's very clear, by especially calling it a Serbian film, it gives it a title and it gives you something that you know you're supposed to focus on. You wouldn't just call, like, fucking The Departed, hey, it's Boston. But,
I don't know. I'd be more likely to watch a film that was just called It's Boston. Like, especially if it had an exclamation mark at the end.
and you know, actually thinking about that,
It's fucking Boston.
that would probably be more of a political statement for Boston than this did about Serbia. Because, what do you think he was attacking? Obviously it had something to do with, political motivation, something with the government, but did any of it, like, feel specific?
No.
Nothing.
No,
And-
really, no.
And
I-
that is the right answer. Because even if you were born and lived in Serbia and saw some of their problems, I think you could see some parallels, but really, except for going, yeah,
No.
you can't really get much. The one thing that I did find is that, and this is just a little background, Serbia is in this weird position where it's trying to please both the European Union and Russia. And so, it kind of makes your politicians like these double standard backstabbing hypocrites, which he's trying to basically say, hey, everything's fake, these people are liars, they say one thing and then they fuck you. You think you're getting the right... After a while, he actually starts sounding... I mean, if you take the movie as his statement, he starts to sound like an angsty asshole. It's like, they do these bad things, you get lulled into security, and then they fuck you, You see them fuck a baby, you try to get out, they fuck you, and then when you're dead, they fuck you again. That's...
It's like Sean Penn's monologue from the game.
And in Serbia, I understand, because if you imagine you're a politician where you're trying to play both sides because you need some things from one area and you need something from the other, and each one is basically ripping at you. So you have a lot of tension from both fronts. And to give you an example, the EU wanted Serbia to issue sanctions against Russia for Russia's annexation of Crimea, while Serbia tries to keep it standing with the EU by considering EU mandates for energy pipelines, which would screw over Russia. Now, if you're a politician in that circumstance, that's kind of rough. That's a rough standing. So you go on TV and you try to maybe placate the audience, or at least try to give it the best you can without everyone bringing up their pitchforks and wanting to murder your ass. But then, of course, you have somebody like fucking Spasijevic, who then, to give you an example, again, I want to use his words, this is how he feels about what's going on. In an interview with Electric Sheet magazine, he was asked the question, the extreme imagery in the film seems to come from anger, and this anger is directed at the state. The violence is committed by the state, essentially, and the authorities are responsible for the most immoral treatment of humans in the film. Okay, here's his response. Quote, authority in general, yes. Because first of all, this film is an honest expression of the deepest feelings that we all have about our region of the world in general. Concerning our region, the last few decades have been dominated by war and political and moral nightmares. The world in general is a sugar-coated in political correctness, but is actually very rotten under that facade. So we're talking about problems in the modern world, only they're set in Serbia. And it's a struggle against all the corrupt authorities that govern our lives for their own purposes. So yes, there's anger in the film.
Nice.
So basically, he's pro-Trump.
Yeah.
This whole movie is basically saying everyone's trying to be so politically correct. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna show them how wrong they are. I'm gonna show what happens when you fuck something until they die. So if you see anyone who's pro-Trump, say you need to see a Serbian film because this is exactly what he wants. This is the kind of movie that he would sit down, take off his toupee after a nice hard day, take out his cock and stroke it to some baby murder. I want to read another quote from that same article. The question was, there's been a lot of talk about the violence against women and the children in this film.
All right.
And he says this, quote, you cannot fight against that kind of violence. If you don't say anything about it, you will not prevent it. If you say, for instance, in this company you have about 50% of women managers. Fine, but that will not solve the problem of domestic violence. In Serbia, in some rural parts of the country, we have a big domestic violence problem. Women and children are treated like men's property. Men can do whatever they want with them. Of course, there are problems with that type all around the world, but in some regions, it's almost a tradition. And the written law is not helping, because in reality, no one does anything about it. We wanted to talk about the problems we experience. We wanted to face the demons of our time, including violence against women and children. Unfortunately, many people who say they are fighting against those problems and claim to represent women and children find this film too offensive. And, some of his points make sense. But here's the problem. His overall argument is bullshit. So, let's break this down a bit. As stated by the director, showing these horrible images of violence against women and children is the only way to bring attention to it. Alright. But the problem is the way it's portrayed doesn't do this effectively. Let's take that baby scene again, for example. I doubt anyone ever said, having sex with a baby can't be that bad. Only you see this movie and go, holy shit, that's horrible! Mention having sex with a baby to your friend, and I guarantee that whole first step is going to be fucking skipped. Unless the framing of the film is to showcase and explore a known problem, simply showing a scene of a woman being choked to death via an erection or having a newborn fucked to death does not help get the message out there. That's like showing a fat guy unable to run away from an oncoming car, get smacked, and then saying that the whole message was to eat less Twinkies. You can say that it's there, but it's under layer after layer of bullshit.
The part of the problem as well is just the tonal issues of the film again, because having the main guy screaming newborn porn at the top of his lungs like some kind of cartoonish supervillain, but doesn't help because it just makes it silly.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with this film is that, just like I've said 1,000 times before, I shouldn't need to have the director or someone else tell me what it's about in order to get it. You need to have at least a fucking clue somewhere. If this is a political allegory, maybe bring it up a little bit, instead of being like, if you think about the government just treats you like a porn star. And then you get fucked, and then it keeps going until you bleed.
If you really wanted to get his message across, there was other ways to do it. This was just exploitative. That's all it was. Yeah. Exploitative.
And then he doesn't want to confirm it after the fact because he doesn't want to admit that what he made was basically no better than the Human Centipede. Actually, the Human Centipede is a better movie.
I'm gonna have to take your word on that one.
The first one isn't that bad. It's got a few rough moments, but it's more of the imagination. And the actual movie just plays out like a B movie. It's nothing big. The second one, on the other hand, that goes into.
Have you seen the third one?
No, I've seen scenes like clips and still images. That's a lot of people going ass to mouth. So yeah, that's that. Do you guys have any final thoughts about this movie?
Don't take your babies to Serbia. I almost said Syria.
Don't take them to Syria either. Another problem.
Probably don't take them there either.
Don't watch this movie. And if you're trying to make a point about the government, maybe work some subtlety in the film.
And Chris?
I think this would have been better if it was a Siberian film.
Alright, you guys want to get to some reviews?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Knock yourself out.
Alright, this first one starts like this. Unlike the Vomit Gore trilogy and the August Underground trilogy, which were made to look grainy, which automatically puts your guards up and prepares you to watch extreme gore, a Serbian film has amazing cinematography, which gives the audience a fake sense of comfort. And this comes...
That's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, the cinematography is actually pretty meh. It's like very still, static shots. In fact, in the actual movie where you see the director's guys moving around with the camera while you have Mr. Pornstar there going through the scene, there's more movement and more interesting angles in those shots that we never see than the shot itself that's setting up what you're watching.
Chris, in the British version, how was the cinematography?
Dull and flat. Well, I'm not even sure if it was the English version either, because I just watched whatever was on YouTube, so I couldn't fucking tell you who uploaded it.
I think it was a censored version, I'm pretty sure. Like, it was...
Was it?
Yeah.
No, I checked that link. That was a pretty uncensored link.
Huh.
No, but it was a shortened version of it. Like, there's an uncut, longer version out there.
The uncut version is only 104 minutes.
Yeah, I think ours was less than that.
Well, I saw the 104-minute one, so I couldn't tell you what you missed. You saw a guy hold his dick hostage. What else do you want?
And then jump out of a window, which was fucking...
There's a lot of dick biting, too. He gets his dick bitten a lot.
Oh, wow.
But he never quite loses it.
what type of person do you think would watch the Vomit Gore trilogy and talk about the Serbian film amazing cinematography?
I don't know.
Would you believe? Would you believe that
someone
it's
brain damaged?
John Wayne Gacy? I don't.
Some dickhead that's trying to justify his liking of this movie.
this was
I like that. Let's go with that.
this was a review by Tiffany41388, and I was like, what? I mean, I've tried not to be sexist, but still, it's like there was even a picture of her, and she looked like a stay-at-home mom, like maybe a librarian. So I'm like, is this just like a one-off? But no, she watches tons and tons of horror movies. So I'm like,
but
what
she's
the?
poor.
And I was actually able to access her wish list. I'm gonna ignore that, Charlie. I was actually able to access her wish list and like think maybe the stuff that she's ordering is just maybe her kids were watching it, but I don't know. If you look at her wish list, she wants a formal dress suit for an 18 to 24-month-old boy. I don't know what. Let's hope it doesn't end up like the kid in the movie.
We should send her a noose.
A crock pot, a food processor, and a movie called A Bittersweet Life, a violent Korean revenge flick about a hitman who falls in love with his boss's girlfriend. Alright, this next review comes from Chris.
I know that
Chris.
guy.
And this is a 1-star review. And he says, quote, "Dude, don't watch this movie. It's very fucked up. Fuck is censored. Trust me on this one, people. And you should trust this guy, because not only does he have such an enlightened review, but you should always trust a man who buys parts for his guns on Amazon."
Don't forget that all the best reviews start with the word "dude."
Yep. Also, this guy gave this movie 1 star, but he gave Sallow 120 Days of Sodom 5 stars. Where the fuck is the bar set for this guy? That's just as bad. Okay, so this next one comes from Binky Chortohohea.
Nailed it. You nailed that pronunciation.
Boom.
And he says, quote, "And it all winning awards and stuff." That's how it starts.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
From the exposition to the climax, nobody let up and everybody got their own agenda here. It be deep symbolic around Serbia history and outrage they people, yeah? And the critics too, lol, winky face. You can go bats here and people will say you understand it. It a blank check to the darker side of the basement.
It deep movie.
True that.
Yep. And again,
I like fuck kid.
I'm wondering
I like
who's
art
watching.
where they make fuck.
I'm wondering who's watching these movies, because the other guy, his bar was set really weird. But where's this guy's priorities when he gave 5 stars to Tusk, but only 4 stars to the Playboy Collector's Edition? Come on, man! This next one comes from Cable, who gives a 5-star review. His whole thing just says, "Not for the weak of heart." Interesting. By the way, week is spelled W-E-E-K, as in days of the week.
What a fucking moron.
And he buys a lot of electronics, like wiring and whatnot, so he might be building a bomb.
Let's
But he also has like these weird reviews. Like, for example, he bought a microwave cover, and the title of his review is "For Microwave Not Sove." The actual review itself just says cover.
Yeah.
That guy should be a critic. We should have him on the show.
It's just a list of women that he wants to kill and wear the faces of.
Yeah, the people reviewing this movie are clearly in a mental institution. A very irresponsible mental institution. And they let them watch
Do you
this
think they have
movie.
screenings of this?
Oh, somewhere, I'm sure. And the last review comes from Delia, who, this is a 5-star review, and this is all in caps. "Another gift from my 25-year-old son! Graphically violent and disturbing on every level! I made the mistake of watching this with him. I walked out after only a few minutes." Again, a 5-star review.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't watch this with your mom.
And this is a weird woman. She buys a lot of video games, complains about how violent they are, in all caps, then gives them 5 stars. I thought maybe it was a troll, but they started buying like a lot of normal shit, like linens and bed sheets and like leather and vinyl repair kits, usually with reviews, again, in all caps, saying like what they were used for. Like, "My husband does this for crafts and stuff." It's like, that's a long way to go. But then it starts to get weird. Like, at one point she bought an artificial cheesecake for some reason. Like a plastic cheesecake, and gave it 5 stars.
This cheesecake is too violent.
Alright, so let's get on to the next movie.
Yeah, why don't all these people go kill themselves?
Yeah.
That's the real mystery.
Yeah.
Alright, so this was just for Paul. We've got 3 movies here that I swear are nowhere near as bad as a Serbian film.
Okay.
Alright, first up, we have Twilight.
Nah.
No,
Not what you're thinking.
No, the one from 1998, which is about a Hollywood PI who lived with 2 fading movie stars when he finds a clue to an unsolved murder. This one stars Paul Newman, Susan Sarandon, and Gene Hackman, and is written and directed by one of the guys who wrote the Superman movie. So the next one is called Bad Johnson. The penis of a womanizer detaches itself, turns into a person, and somehow there's a movie here.
Wait, I swear this is the films have changed since the last time.
Yeah,
They
you mixed
did.
it up, man.
I had to. Because I know what you guys were going to guess, so...
I was
guess
gonna
no
mix
Black
things up anyway.
Klansman.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna get to watch Black Klansman.
Don't worry, next time. So the third movie is called Twixt. This movie is directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and he teamed up with Val Kilmer to make a horror movie in 2011.
Oh my god.
That alone, what the fuck?
What's it about?
I don't know. It's Francis
Okay.
Ford Coppola, Val Kilmer, horror movie, 2011. I don't think there are words that could describe that.
That one. I picked that one all day.
Charlie, how about you?
What are the votes at so far? I want to go last.
Okay, so far we have 1 for Twixt.
Okay.
So Kyle, Bad Johnson, Twixt, or Twilight?
Go with Bad Johnson. We need more dicks. Put more dicks on the show. I mean,
Not as
think-
someone who also sat through another gay movie. I can't believe you're saying that.
I'd like to
Oh.
point out that before I left today, my brother voted for Twilight.
Okay, well, PT doesn't get a
It
vote. He's
doesn't
not on the
count.
show.
Yeah.
yeah.
PT,
All right.
PT was on the show because he got diddled as a child, and he can't vote.
Yeah, he's having too many flashbacks. He couldn't be on the show.
All right, then I'm voting for Twilight.
What? Can he do that?
I can. I gotta say,
All right, so what's the score now? What are we at?
1-1-1. So it's all up to you, Charlie. Are we watching?
Again?
Are we watching
Okay.
Bad Johnson, Twixt, or Twilight?
I'm gonna vote for Black Klansman.
I also picked Black Klansman.
We're not watching Black fucking Klansman.
I picked strippers versus werewolves.
God damn.
I am. So we got Twilight, which is the 1998 Twilight. We got Twixt, which is gonna be bad because it has Val Kilmer in it, and then we have the other one. It's about a what is it? It's
Talking
about a
penis.
About a
Talk-
Talking to wiener. That's
All right. I'm gonna go with. You know what? Let's do Twixt. Let's do it.
okay. That's it.
Just because PT
Twixt.
wanted Twilight.
And how about this? I'll make you guys a deal.
Nice things.
Next month, for the second episode, we'll do Black Klansman.
Ooh.
all right.
No, it doesn't feel right if I didn't vote for it.
Yeah, well, I don't give a shit what you think, Charlie. Next month, we're watching Twixt, and then Black Klansman.
All right, let's
So-
do it.
So I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm
Just
tired.
have fun with that.
Y'all a bunch of fucking weirdos. Get the fuck off my internet.
Let's
Marty,
never
did you
talk
record
about
this one?
movie again.
Yes, I recorded this one, you fucking dick. That's it for now. Catch more episodes on iTunes or Stitcher. If you prefer to listen to podcasts on YouTube, we're there as well at the Some Jerk from Boston channel. Have any comments, recommendations, or just some good old-fashioned hate mail? Email us at wdijwpodcast@gmail.com. That's wdijwpodcast@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/wdijwpodcast. You can find me on Twitter at SomeJerkFB or on Tumblr at somejerkfromboston.tumblr.com.